Matt Riddle going after Chris Jericho and other WCW legends. It comes up next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications as we're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's All Out. So we all know that Matt Riddle is quite the vocal type when it comes to certain wrestlers in the industry. One in particular is Bill Goldberg, where he's gone onto Twitter and post videos on how he thinks he's such a bad wrestler. There was a fan on Twitter that tweeted to both him and Chris Jericho and referred to a book that Chris Jericho did. And he was talking about a promo he once did for British Bulldog, buried him for being old. And basically the lesson was, don't bury the person you're facing, because in the end, it just buries you. Chris Jericho retweets the tweet saying, learn, basically. Listen and learn, kid. So then Matt Riddle answers back, goes after Chris Jericho saying, you're soft. I'm going to beat you up if I ever saw you. Maybe in your prime, you could have beaten me, but no, I could still beat you then. And then Chris Jericho comes back with a video where he looks like Matt Riddle and makes fun of him for his tweets. So, Ralph, finish this sentence for me. Matt Riddle should A, keep his mouth shut, or B, keep preaching.
I'm going to say keep preaching. I'm not saying I agree with everything Matt Riddle's saying or doing, but it's at least fun. It's making things interesting at the very least. And if people are talking about you, whether it's good or bad, it's usually a good thing. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing really, this started with Matt Riddle kind of poking fun at Bill Goldberg, talking about how he's old, how he's a bad wrestler. And it really happened because of the poor match that he had with The Undertaker. And I think everybody kind of knows, if you follow Matt Riddle on social media, everybody kind of knows that he did go after Bill Goldberg. It's unfortunate because I think now everybody knows the circumstances of why that match with The Undertaker was so bad. Unfortunately, Goldberg had a mishap with one of the moves into the corner, and he ended up concussing himself. And we know the match went downhill from there. Was it a good match? No, but it was unfortunate the way everything kind of unfolded. But Matt Riddle did take certain shots at Bill Goldberg, and then there have been other people who have come out and were very critical of Matt Riddle, Chris Jericho being one. The other one was Booker T, who Booker T actually went in on Matt Riddle saying he needs to go back and he needs to learn. He's actually very green still. So, yeah, I mean, he's certainly not winning over probably the older demographic or the older fans, especially going after some high-profile guys like Goldberg, like Booker T, like Chris Jericho. But, you know, it's at least he's getting himself some attention. I don't know if it's necessarily good attention, but people are talking about him.
No, I totally agree. Obviously, people in the wrestling community are going all over Twitter about this, and there's some truth to it. I was never really a Bill Goldberg fan myself. I never thought he was great in the ring. I thought it was all hype. You know, the fact that he couldn't do anything longer than 5 minutes was always a turnoff to me. But even Matt Riddle said the guy was a draw. Nothing wrong with that. But we all know at the end of the day, when you're looking at some of the best wrestlers, you're going to look at matches from a Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, a Bret Hart, and even Matt Riddle brought up Chris Benoit for, you know, whatever that means. He is a good wrestler, but we all know what happened there. But do you think this also was throwing shade at Jericho because he's in AEW? Do you think it kind of still playing into this whole AEW versus WWE mentality, and now both WWE and AEW guys are starting to play along with this?
I don't think so much. I just think it had to do with the context of what the topic was. So really kind of how Chris Jericho, I guess, got brought into this whole thing was, as you pointed out, his whole thing from his book. And, you know, Jericho is a veteran. He's never really been one to keep his mouth shut, regardless. You know, if he's got something to say, he's going to say it. So I guess he felt strongly enough about what Matt Riddle was doing, and the fact that maybe he felt it was a little disrespectful, rubbing him the wrong way. I'm not quite sure, but he wanted Matt Riddle to know that he should have a little more respect, especially for the older people that kind of laid the groundwork for him to even do what he's doing today. You know, like you said, was Bill Goldberg the most technical wrestler of all time? No, I don't think anybody ever considered him to be a great professional wrestler, but he was a draw. He was a character during the Attitude Era, which is definitely the largest and biggest time in professional wrestling to date. So you got to at least respect that aspect of who Bill Goldberg was and what he brought to the table.
Now, Goldberg will be appearing at SummerSlam to face Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Do you see Matt Riddle either on social media commenting on it, or in fact showing up at SummerSlam as an even bigger surprise for SummerSlam?
I mean, if Goldberg's going to be at SummerSlam, I definitely think that we'll see something out of Matt Riddle on social media. I don't think we'll actually see him at SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. He would probably come out to a good reaction because you're going to get some of the hardcore fans that will know who he is at SummerSlam that will go to the event. But I was always kind of surprised to see that there probably isn't as much crossover between the NXT fan base and the WWE fan base as you would normally think.
Right.
Just thinking back to maybe some of the entrants and the guys from NXT that came up that were in the Royal Rumble. I know Johnny Gargano was in the Royal Rumble once, or maybe twice. I don't know off the top of my head.
This past year, he was in
Ciampa. And, you know, they got decent reactions. They got a good pop. But even Adam Cole, who's probably one of the more over guys in NXT right now, he had an appearance at the Royal Rumble once, and it wasn't like a deafening thing where it was like when Jericho debuted on Monday Night Raw back in like 99 or whenever that was, where he came out to a huge reaction. Everybody knew who he was. They obviously, there is some crossover, but I really don't think there's that big crossover between the WWE hardcore fan and the NXT fan. So, you know, if they were to do like a Goldberg and Riddle feud, I don't know if it would really go over as well as people think. But to the hardcore fan, of course, but maybe not to the more casual fan who doesn't necessarily watch NXT.
It's interesting that if this is just Matt Riddle working us all and this ends up being a feud on television and that's just part of a storyline, who would you it's hard to say who would you end up having go over. It's Bill Goldberg we're talking about here. Granted his age, it's Bill Goldberg. The guy can knock someone out in seconds. But again, you're talking about Matt Riddle, who is a former mixed martial artist, did successful there. Obviously, his extracurricular activity caused him to get released from his mixed martial arts career. So there is credibility on both sides here. And I would hope that WWE would put Matt Riddle over in this situation. But again, it's Bill Goldberg. He's the bigger name. He's the bigger draw. But who knows? I would love to see it. Say this happens WrestleMania 36. Would you want to see it?
Yeah, I mean, I will be all for any feud that actually has some substance and is intriguing to me. Now, again, is Bill Goldberg necessarily the guy that's going to go out there and have like a 20-minute 5-star match? Probably not. He does have limitations, but I do think that Matt Riddle is more than capable of going out there and delivering a pretty decent match with a guy like Bill Goldberg, even if it's like a 10-minute match. I would be into it. I would want to see it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I actually like Matt Riddle's style a lot. I think that he can be very over when he does eventually get called up just because of his persona. It's very different. It's almost like RVD-esque, but not exactly that exact type of character. But I think that can translate with a lot of the fan base now, and I think that he can be one of the bigger draws on the main card. I don't know if he's ready for that just yet, but he's definitely one of the guys that I'm looking forward to coming up onto the main card. And if he was to feud with Bill Goldberg, granted Goldberg, like I said, is one of the bigger draws of all time during the Attitude Era. He is older, and Matt Riddle getting a win over a guy like Goldberg would do well for his career, I think.
No, I totally agree. So, final thoughts on this whole thing with Jericho, with Bill Goldberg. Even Lance Storm had things to say about this as well. Yeah. So what were your thoughts on what he said about Lance Storm being boring?
People have been saying that about Lance Storm, jokingly or not, for a long time. I was actually always a very big Lance Storm fan. I used to watch him back in ECW, and I used to love the technical type of matches that he would always put on. So I guess it comes down to what you're interested in. Does he have the most, you know, does he have like a personality like a Chris Jericho where he's going to go out there and have the crowd in the palm of his hand? No, but I could appreciate the type of technical wrestler that he was, and very much enjoyed all of the work that he did in ECW and even when he came over back to the WWE or his time in WCW for that matter. So, you know, it's not like nobody hasn't said it before about Lance Storm, but it is what it is. I don't know, whatever.
I'm sure everybody remembers when Stone Cold Steve Austin was on the top of the at the top of the ramp yelling boring, boring during a Lance Storm promo. So that's basically where his reputation comes from. But he is one of the better technical wrestlers, a great wrestling coach, has helped a lot of current wrestlers in NXT, in AEW and MLW, coach them to where they are today. So very interesting Twitter war that we had here between Chris Jericho and Matt Riddle. Let us know in the comments below what you think of this whole Twitter war. Don't forget to share this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. Subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's All Out. For Rob Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.